Ranters and rantettes, I've got a love story for you that is going to really make you think how fragile life can be and how you just want to soak up every single moment. We're going to be looking at We Live in Time, a non-linear love story starring Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield. But before we get into this episode, you all know what comes up first.
Welcome to the Lights, Camera, Rant Podcast. Your source for the latest on movies, TV shows, and video games. Get ready for ranting, raving, and reviewing. Here is your host, Lee.
Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode. As always, I'm your wonderful host, Mr. Rand, and I would like to thank Studio Canal for the opportunity to go watch this film. In Australia, it's only come out this past week as I'm recording it. In overseas, it's come out nearly about 3 months prior. So this is the reason why this review is a little bit later than the rest of the world. But I do appreciate everyone coming in and tuning in for this episode. So when I got the opportunity to go watch this movie, I only saw the poster. And I had seen the reviews for this were very positive, but this isn't a normal movie I usually go and watch. But because you had the fantastic Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh in this, and I was like, all right, I'm in. But I made sure not to watch a trailer for it. And this movie only goes for 108 minutes. It's already made $36 million at the box office currently. And it's a very interesting way to tell a love story. Like, as I mentioned in the intro of this video, it's a non-linear love story that we see between these two characters. So if you do watch this film and feel a little bit confused, that's why. Same kind of vibe as partially Inception, or if you like An Eternal Sunshine by a Spotless Mind. A love story with just a weird and wonderful way to tell it, but still sends a wonderful, strong message on what life can be. So this movie contains 3 time periods. One that's over several years, one that's over a few months, and one that's over a day. So instead of you watching the film and you're watching like how they met, the troubles in the middle, how it ended, this basically chops and changes everything. You're thrown in the middle here, and you go forward, you go back, and at the end it just all comes together, and it's very different. But for what the director's done, John Crowley, I think they've done a fantastic job on how they put it together and what the story is about. So what it is Florence Pugh as Elmet, Andrew Garfield as Tobias. These are 2 unlikely people that do meet because Florence Pugh character does roam over with a car. So that's one way how 2 people meet and how they go through the struggles of loving each other, getting married, having a kid, and struggles with having cancer, when you do want kids, when you don't want to have kids, having a kid, what happens with life when you've got ambitions but other things come in mind. And it honestly is a beautiful telling story between these, because you really feel between Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh. They do a fantastic performance on portraying these characters and making you really feel it. Like, I can honestly say, I know it's probably partially cliche, but honestly, when this movie ended, I was a bit like, Jesus, I need to go away. I need to tell everybody I love them. I need to cherish every moment. It was just one of those movies to watch it. And this is just basically about love story. It's the small things, like because Florence Pugh's character, she's basically a person who basically pick a skill and boom, she's fantastic at it. She's a figure skater. She's a renowned chef. And Tobias, Andrew Garfield's character, is a marketing person for Weet-Bix, which is funny because at the very start when they do meet, it's like, oh, you're dating the Weet-Bix guy. So that's a little bit funny at the very start. But it's when they're dating at the very, very beginning, she teaches him how to crack an egg and what's the best way. And then towards the end, you do see that he does teach it to his daughter, because unfortunately, Elmet, she gets cancer, and it's very sad how she goes through all those emotions, and it's very real. And what does happen is sometimes there's hope, sometimes there isn't. Things get better, but then they get worse, and then you give the time frame, and what do you want to do in the rest of that time? This isn't a movie to go in, and this isn't going to have a happy ending, this type of movie, but you can smile and be happy all the way through between it. As I mentioned, because it's not a linear path of how the story is told at the very start, it might be a little bit confusing. But after the first like 20 or 30 minutes, you're like, oh, okay, I know where this is. I know where this is all going. I know this is how it's all situated. So, for these characters, when you do look at them, you're like, obviously, Andrew Garfield, Spider-Man, and Florence Pugh is, what were they, Oppenheimer, Marvel, all that. But this is just a story to really bring down. And I can honestly say I highly recommend this. Watch this with your partner. Watch this with your family. It's just how they've done with it, how they've done this put together is a beautiful story. And not one moment when I was watching this to feel, oh, this is a bit slow, or this is too mushy. There is a scene where they do have spoilers slightly. They do have a childbirth in a petrol station, which was a bit like, damn, this is actually a bit longer than I thought this thing was going to go. But that's the day. So, but you do feel all those moments of being a parent, being a dad, and being a mother, and how hard things can be. And so, yeah, that's what I mean. So this is definitely a movie I recommend. You're going to go in for the hardship. You're going to have a giant fist in your heart to watch this. And I think it's going to be one of those love movies that is going to stand the test of time, isn't going to be underneath the rug and just forgotten about, which there's so many. It's a darn shame the fact this movie did come out 3 months ago and we're only getting it now. I would have loved to watch this when it first came out amongst everybody and not just seen all the reviews, but that's a struggle with being in Australia. Things get delayed. But if there's one movie I recommend you watching this weekend, either when you're watching this video, go watch it in the theaters, or go watch it on streaming service. I highly recommend. I give this film 4.5 stars out of 5. So if you haven't already, definitely go check out Letterboxd reviews, which go up first. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button or just a like. That's all it takes. And I'd love to find out what your feedback was on this movie, what your thoughts were. Did it connect with you? Did it make you cry? Because it made me cry 100%. Soon as that movie ended, I was a blubbering mess. So definitely let me know in the comments. And as always, until next time, happy ranting.
Thanks for listening to Lights, Camera, Rant. If you like the show, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. While you're at it, leave us a rating and review, and be sure to tell your friends. Until next time, happy ranting.